Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is the bony landmarks surrounding the the wrist and hand. I'll briefly go over a bit around the humerus, just because some of the muscle origins what I incorporated with the hand originate from the lower part of the humerus. So we've got the humerus here. We've got the medial supracondylar ridge of the humerus, and we've got the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus, and then we've got the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, then we've got our medial epicondyle of the humerus, then we've got the capitulum, the trochlear notch, etc. And that's only what I'm going to really talk about there. So again, we're going to move down. So this is what ulna, the anterior surface of the ulna, the anterior surface is the radius. We'll just flip that over. As you can see, we've got a few bony prominences on the posterior aspect. So we've got the radial styloid process of the radius here. We've got the dorsal tubercle of the radius, which is this bony prominence there, or other known as Lister's tubercle. We've got the ulnar head and the ulnar styloid process just there. And then from there, we've got a joint, which is the humeral carpal joint, or other known as the wrist joint, where the distal end of the radius articulates with scaphoid and lunate, and that is an ellipsoid, a synovial ellipsoid joint, which this means it allows flexion, extension, radial, ulnar deviation, and circumduction at this joint. And then from there, we've got the carpal bones. So I just briefly talked about lunate and scaphoid, so I'll try and zoom in here. So we've got pisiform here, which is the P-shaped bone, and that sits on top of another bone called the tracheatrium. This one here, and here, this is called the hook of hamate. Then we've got the lunate and the scaphoid, and then the capitate, which is this one there, and then we've got the trapezium and the trapezoid, and that's the carpal bones of the hand. Then we've got metacarpals. So we've got metacarpal 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we've got phalanges. So we've got proximal distal phalanges, and obviously we've only got one phalange of the thumb. But again, this is the base of the metacarpal bones, and this is the body, and then this is the head. So base, body, head, etc. So we've got, from talking about the other joints, we've got the carpal metacarpal joint, which is where the metacarpals and the carpals articulate. Then we've got the metacarpal phalangeal joint, where is the metacarpals and the phalanges articulate. And the metacarpal phalangeal joint is other known as the knuckles, and they are also a synovial ellipsoid joint, so that allows flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, and circumduction. Then we have the proximal and distal interphalanges. So proximal, distal. So the proximal on my hand would be, I don't know if you can see, is where it's bending here, and then the distal bit is here, and them are hinge joints, so that only allows flexion and extension. So that's that. Another joint, what I forgot to mention just there, is the proximal or inferior radial ulnar joint, and as you can imagine, that's where the radial and ulnar articulate. And we've also got a proximal one, and that's a pivot joint, and that allows pronation and supination. So that's that. And I think we'll have a brief talk about the ligaments also. In regards to the ligaments, we've got a few ligaments going on here. We've got the palmar intercarpal ligament, and what the purpose of this ligament is, it keeps all the carpals together at the palmar side. Then we've got the dorsal intercarpal ligament. Again, this keeps all the carpal bones on the dorsal side all contained together, and it also keeps the radius and the metacarpals together as well, and that's that. Then we've got the radial collateral ligament also, and this connects the scaphoid, the radial styloid process, and prevents the wrist from bending too far to the side, away from the thumb. So kind of is that right? Yep. ulnar deviation, sorry, so not too much ulnar deviation. Then we've got the ulnar collateral ligament, which is found in the thumb and the wrist and also the elbow regions. It attaches to the end of the ulnar styloid process. And obviously that again is just keeping everything nice and compact. And that's the bony non-contractile aspects of the wrist now. Thank you.